just started. it, so
Oh,
I think
there
we're
we
good to
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
So we have the school department here to give us an update on the budget.
Just a few things that I wanted to bring up. Oh, yeah.
Is it being recorded
It
through
picks
here?
up, it picks up the Zoom bar, so you actually don't have to see up at the podium.
I don't have to be.
Whatever you prefer.
The first thing that I passed out to you is the school revolving renovation fund eligibility certificate and information that is on the council agenda from March 18th. And I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of it. I had mentioned it a little bit last time, but wanted to make sure we were clear. So this is a grant award, partial 0% interest loan. So on that second page, you can see that we were awarded $1.8 million for work in Hancock County Technical Center. This will do the elevator and in addition, do a fire suppression system for the building. The portion of the loan to be forgiven is $936,741. So what they do is they take everyone's award amount, and we were very fortunate to be granted this. A lot of school departments did not get any money. They take your subsidy amount, and the percentage of your subsidy is the percentage that your grant is forgiven in this. So for us, the state subsidizes us at 50.79%. So that is the percentage of the loan that is fully forgiven. And then we repay the $907,000. But again, that's a 0% loan over the course of 10 years. So the thought is, so that people understand, even though we are looking to rebuild Hancock County Technical Center at some point, we outright own that building. And so we need to take care of it. And one of the hardest things about that building right now is no fire suppression system and kids doing a lot of things that we should have that. And our elevator is not handicap accessible and is often not working. So that's another significant issue. And this loan helps cover those projects for us. The project has to be completed by September 30 of 2025. And the company that we use to help us apply for all of these grants, his name is Tom Seekins through EMC. He kind of becomes the project manager and he goes out to bid and he gets all of that and he coordinates the project, which is part of the state rules. So we'll be looking for council approval for us. We've started the Maine Municipal Bond Bank application and doing that. Carolyn's been working on that. But we need formal approval from the council.
Borrowing funds, I think that it does have to have a public hearing. So, I mean, maybe we're not at that step right now.
Right.
So this is just kind of getting it out in the public.
Yes.
And- Okay.
Getting it out in the public, making sure the council knows, giving us permission to continue moving forward in the process. And Carolyn's been working with the attorneys to make sure we're checking all the boxes so that we don't do anything to screw this up, because this is a pretty big deal. And so that we can get this moving and stay in the timelines. Yeah. Question?
You said this helps do those two projects? Does it not do those two projects?
No, it does. It
Okay.
does do those. We
Thank
would
you.
not, we wouldn't be able to put this in our budget right now to do something of this magnitude, coupled
So-
with all the other projects we have that we need to get done.
So your thought is the elevator and the fire suppression,
Yes.
the price would not exceed this?
No, we had to submit a budget, an estimate to go through all of that in the application process, and then they allocate money based on if they think those numbers fit in with what they're seeing, then that's what they allocate for.
And so these numbers are real estimated numbers?
Yes. Yeah, yes. So the next thing I had for you is just a couple of budgetary questions that I kind of want to make sure stays on the mind of the council. The first is minor. As if you remember, we spend a lot of money in plowing our schools. Because we don't have the means through the city to use city vehicles to plow our schools. So we have to go to bid every year for all of our properties. And one of the proposals in our budget this year that you will see is adding a plow to one of our currently owned trucks that would take on the plowing at Hancock County Technical Center. And so there's also a thing in our budget for the ability to sand that property also. And so the question came up when the city purchases their sand for what they do, if we could use the city sand to do the city properties. And I'm sure I need to talk to department heads about that, but that's one of the things that we'd like to do. It ends up paying for itself within the first year or two because plow bids are a lot of money. So having the opportunity to at least use one of our properties, if we acquire Avery Lane, we would do the same. We would use that vehicle to do that as well. That would give us a cost savings in the HCTC budget right out of the gate if we did that. The next thing that I want to talk about, I did bring this up with finance last year, so Tammy is aware of this. We really need to decide how we want to handle our track and field up at Duluth Stadium. Right now, the way the track is, we can only host one meet this spring, and it has to be a small school meet because the track is not sufficient safety-wise for a large school track meet, which means that our athletic program has to go on the road for that. It would also mean, I would assume, that soon it's not going to be safe for people running in certain areas of it. And then, of course, we have the lights that have been for years been talked about that need to be fixed. Last year in Finance Committee, one of the ideas that we talked about was that we spoke about how the track and the facility should not come on the back of just the school department. It is a school and the city. We talked about approaching the county commissioners and asking to utilize some of their, what I know is ESSER funds, ARPA funds for them. That was blown dead in the water. They won't even put me on the agenda to entertain the conversation. One of the ideas was to get letters from community organizations, even from around the county that utilize the track, to see if that would help. And that was rejected. They said they were not going to entertain any municipal requests for that funding. I tried to push back a little bit. I didn't get anywhere. Right now, there's $1.2 million my maintenance director put in my budget to fix that facility. I haven't taken it out yet because it needs to get done, but I don't think it's fair to put that all in the school budget, and that would astronomically put my budget way over just that one project. So I do think we need to figure out quickly, because if we got on the agenda now for fixing that track, it would not be done for soccer season. So you need to get on the schedule like in the winter. They schedule it that summer so that it's when your soccer and your track is not going on. And that's when they get the work done. So it's ready for the middle of August. So we need to figure out a plan for that. We did find, going through our finances, there is a reserve account through the school department for about $100,000. Amy Atherton went back and watched recordings of old meetings and found the meeting. And it is specifically for Duluth lighting, and it's $100,000. So we do have a reserve account with a little bit of money, but the quotes that Josh had brought to finance last spring are probably going to be old, because it's a year later. But we were looking at approximately $800,000 to redo that track and soccer field, and then a good $300,000 to $400,000 to do the lights. So I'm not expecting an answer and solution today, But I think we really need to start figuring out how we want to approach that project collectively and collaboratively. Because it is very, very used. It's not just our athletic teams, as we all know, there's a lot of community organizations that walk that track and use that track. And Josh Frost said the only way we could host our meets this spring is small ones, and kids have to wear longer sized spikes in their cleats for it to be considered safe. And even then, they may not allow certain events in certain parts of the track. So that's a problem. And it's one of those things we keep kicking the can down the road. We have for a long time. I think Josh has been talking about this since 2020. And we still don't have a solution. So we need to figure that out long term. I wanted to bring that back up to finance so that you can think about it. And we probably should really start talking about possible solutions for that. I mean, we could continue to put money in a reserve. But that's nickels towards a big project. It's a help. We had really hoped, I know the vision with the last finance committee was a third the school, a third the city, a third ARPA funds. That had been hope. And we thought we could get there and that would be palatable for everyone's budgets. But with the county not even considering listening to us or putting us on an agenda, we're back to the drawing board.
So I still don't feel like it's a municipal project. This is a community project.
Did the city, was the city involved with the request of the county or was it just the school?
City too. Glenn contacted them as well.
And you mentioned organizations that use the track, and they did they actually prepare letters or?
I have a couple, other school departments in the county have always used our track practices because they don't have one in their communities.
Yeah.
So Josh Ross worked with athletic directors to get those. And then he started reaching out to others and we found out the county wouldn't hear us. So I told them not to have people to hit pause.
I'd say start it again.
Yeah, I think.
And let's just push on.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
I agree. You know, we can start making.
And I did receive a schedule for budget workshops, so it sounds like I will be presenting to you March 20th, my first draft. And then April 10th, I'm doing the second run. And then at your regular council meeting, you know, it's when I'm scheduled to vote. So my hope would be March 18th would be the first real run through. And then if you're okay with that, I'd like to come to finance the following Friday, get even more feedback than I get from the full council, kind of let it settle, and hear what you're thinking. And then that way, when I come back on April 10th, even if I have to come a couple times to finance, I think that would be important to get your feedback so that on April 15th, because if the budget doesn't pass April 15th to the council, we're going to miss our timeline for the vote. And then we wouldn't have a budget for July 1. So it's going to be important that we communicate a lot over those few weeks so that I come in where you're comfortable right on April 15th.
So Amy, what day did you say you wanted to come back to?
If I present to you guys, let me look. I'm coming March 20th for my budget workshop.
Yeah.
So my thought would be the 29th. If possible, come to finance. And then that gives people a week to kind of digest it, even 2 weeks. And then I come on the 29th to get even more feedback. And then that's 2 weeks before I come again, April 10th for a second run through.
Okay.
And then we vote April 15th.
So we'll
issues. But
Jumping back to the track for a second.
Yeah.
I guess we're shooting at the stars, but we're talking $1.5 million.
Yeah.
In somewhere in the year.
Yeah.
And 300,000 of that is the lighting,
yes,
roughly. I
Yes.
realize I'm shooting.
yep, no, that's approximate, yes.
Is there, there's no lighting there now, or there is?
So there's lights now, but Mr. Shea told us several years ago, the lights, some of the lights are broken and the poles are. So we have to do the whole kit and caboodle.
And I'm not, I'm just asking questions
Yeah.
here. Is there a way during construction process you can set the bases? And not do the full lighting to push that down the road a little bit? If
Do
you
it in
have,
phases, you mean?
I'm asking.
I don't know that.
Yeah, if you
Steve.
could set the bases during construction. But, so we're ready, but not, I just wonder if that could, if you have no lighting now, if that could
Well,
make
we
the project
do.
more feasible,
We do have lighting now.
but it's not usable.
But we have to have lighting because of the soccer field. I mean, fall, it's when it
Yeah.
started later, or like earlier.
One thing I am doing is we are working on a project and a plan that will bring to council that looks at doing a lot of cost efficiency and rebates, kinds of energy efficiency type of things in the schools. And when we met with the gentleman about that, we talked to him about looking at the soccer field lights and the football field and trying to figure out if there was a way to work that into and get some of the same rebates and see if that would help. So we are doing some research behind the scenes to try to keep this project moving and see if there's other ways we can look at cost efficiencies that would lower the price tag up a little bit. But even just the track itself, you're gonna rip up that whole field and have to redo your soccer field. But it, I mean, it can be done. That's probably gonna run us about, that part will probably run us about $800,000 to $900,000. What's that?
We're getting astroturf.
It's my dream, but no, there's no turf in that budget.
Okay.
It's gotta be a way to do it, we just have to figure it out.
Yeah, that's what we're trying, because we've got to get it done. I mean, yeah, I do feel bad. Our outdoor track team is one of our largest groups. And they're bummed. They can't have their own meets like they normally would. So it is, yeah. That's all I got for you today.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, good morning. Amy, are any of the schools that use it for their practice charged any kind of fee?
So we talked about that. They haven't been. And so we talked about that moving forward because it's considered a public facility.
Paid by the
It was
taxpayer?
always allowed. So like a resident of Blue Hill comes and can walk that track whenever they want and they don't get charged.
But I'm gonna guess that walking the track does no, causes no harm to it.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. But if deals with taxpayers that put in the entire buildings,
Mhm.
shouldn't the outlying schools that use it for their practice
We could talk
pay
about
a
it.
fee?
We could talk about it. I think one of the things that's hard is school departments do a lot of in-kind things for each other. And this is one of those things, like the YS using the pool, like this, there's a lot of things that happen with busing and things of that nature that we don't necessarily charge for. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I'm just saying when you start doing that for one thing, it's gonna start triggering other things. Because it goes both. Like right now, we're using a school community's bus. And they're being very kind and we're not paying for it. So there's just a lot of that kind of stuff that happens. And we traditionally have not charged because it's a public facility.
1.2 million to taxpayers.
Oh, I agree. I'm not saying I disagree.
They have written discussions on using like recreation grant funding, like land and water conservation fund.
I think
potentially.
Josh has talked to the recreation committee about the project. I don't know if it's gone as far as looking at grant funding. I mean, there is a business group in the community right now that would love to see us do all new athletic fields, but that's far away. And the track is more of an, and they're thinking more about the whole football complex and doing that than the track.
It's the last time that significant funds were put into the track and the lights, like how old are the lights and when does the track last?
Yeah, see that, I don't know.
Track was resurfaced. Like 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Does that sound right about, yeah, I mean, it's
I'd
been,
say
I
8 to 10, there was some tree roots
Yes.
growing up underneath it.
I think that's
raising
what
the
Josh
surface of the
said.
track.
And then I think Josh said that it was, at that time, it was, some people recommended we redo the track then, but we chose to resurface because it was more cost effective. And then the bleachers flew over
but yeah, the. bleachers fell over
and damaged
it all.
part of the track. And so we're at a point now where the resurfacing option has expired. Now we're at a point where we have to redo it. So I'm gonna take the 1.2 million out of my budget. Even though there's some people that really want it in there, but I'm gonna take it out because it, to me, it shouldn't fall on the burden of one department alone. It should be grant, we should be looking at county, city, the school community. It should be a collaborative, in my opinion. And I think we have to keep figuring it out.
Surplus properties, the city is saying. When we look at that, maybe not just for this project, but what's the market value of surplus properties for the cities? And I'm not saying it needs to go all to this project, but it's a wild question. Maybe. How much of that? Start laying 40 and 50 and $60,000 here and there. That's a question. But maybe it shouldn't own this project. What's the market values of some of the surplus that we have?
I know, come on. Jeez.
And maybe there's some reason not to do that. I'm asking questions.
Well, we have to think outside the box. Because I agree, we can't do it all on the burden of taxpayers.
Yeah.
But it is very much used, so we just have to figure, we have to work on it. And it keeps kind of getting pushed.
TIP funds would qualify for this because it's. We have to look at our TIP plan, but I do know that there's like recreation trails. Within the agreement. So we might be able to do maybe some of it.
Yeah, you may have to get creative with your
Yeah,
discussion about that, because the recreational trails are more looking at outdoor economy. So looking at how much the track actually like supports outdoor economy.
Yeah,
versus
we
being a
were-
public facility. Yeah.
we did it with our communities for the walking path and stuff. And that's how we ended. And so I was just wondering if there's even a small portion of it that could help offset some of that. So. Thanks, Amy.
The name.
Oh, you're looking at me.
Yeah, I am. The name of, and I realize this is, could be a crazy question. The name of this facility.
Yeah.
Correct. How did that name come about and was that paid for? Much like the cross insurance.
I betcha. I don't know.
Is there any
Do you know how Duluth came to? be
Del Luz
Duluth?
Stadium,
Yeah,
market?
he was a teacher and principal, Ellsworth High School for 100 years, science teacher.
So was it dedicated to him? It wasn't like a fundraising thing, is what he's asking, or someone paid.
Fundraising, great deal.
no, I don't think so. I think
named in honor of him.
Okay, the school committee did it.
I think so.
Okay,
Because I picked up.
David Council back then was involved.
Deleuze?
is it Deluz?
Yeah.
Del. His first name was Delmon, I believe was his legal.
I'm not trying to take away from anybody in the past, asking.
Right, no,
You
I
see
see.
commonly people naming things in
Benefactor.
exchange for money.
Yeah,
Steve, you donate $1 million.
Yeah. Well, no, we're not gonna.
Bam.
First of all, I'd have to borrow 2 million to give you 1 million, so.
Wonder if we could, do some fundraising too, like any of the businesses want to buy a pole, and they're,
yeah, one of the things the school department's running up against right now is everybody's fundraising.
yeah.
And so like we have all like skills fundraisers and then your athletics fundraise. There is a group looking to do some sort of turf facility for Ellsworth. There's that business group, and then HCTC is about to ramp up and ask for that stuff. So I get nervous hitting the same, because it is the same people over and over again that you end up asking to be benefactors of things, and we're about to do a campaign for HCTC. So that's the problem.
We can buy a pole, Steve. There you go.
What if we plant a money tree?
There we go.
I'm telling you, I'll think outside the box to get this project done, because it is one that gets brought up quite a bit.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it. Is anyone else? Ray, do you have any questions, Michael?
Mike, you have questions to me?
I do not, Emily.
All right, so
All right. So,
I'm not being rude, we want to train. I apologize, but we've got to leave. Mike.
you don't want to hang out unless they're making.
We do. I think it's one.
It'll get slightly darker in here when you.
Thanks, Mike.
She's my.
So that's my green zone.
We used to have one. So.
True.
Mike's here to help discuss the DOT High Street project. Paving. And so,
But guys, thank you.
yeah, let you guys.
Are we on TV?
Well, not on TV, but we're just recording the meeting, so that we can post it later.
Mike Harris, Ellsworth wastewater superintendent. So really, what this is about is we have a big High Street project coming up with DOT, coming up immediately. And so we've been discussing now for a couple months funding options, because the city's portion of that project is, depending on how we want to do it, is roughly $340,000 plus or minus. The majority of that money is what the state is going to carry in their contract for raising and lower manholes, raising and lower water boxes, and then they're going to cover the storm stuff. And so originally, Glenn wanted us to put it in our operational budget, which I said that's not feasible. But my portion of it is 200 plus thousand, which would blow my budget out of the water. And I said, we traditionally never done that before. So then we started looking at other things. I know we'd come to the finance committee about it, and there was some talk about borrowing it. So, and did go to the first just to find out what the rates would be for that. We didn't go to any other banks, but we were between 5.5% and 6% on the rate for that. I don't know what we carried it out to. So, thus we came up with another option, which sucks for me, but it's great for you guys. So, the wastewater department has 2 major projects going on and a third in the future. So we've been funding for those. And actually we have more money than we need. So we got a grant for $2,200,000, which was expended for stormwater. They use it to do the stormwater inspection work for that big project coming up on Oak Street. And then we got congressionally directed funding of 1.77 million for High Street. And we'd already secured a Northern Border grant for 500,000 for Water Street. And then we had borrowed general obligation bond, which I believe 1.3 or 4 million was for wastewater, the Water Street pump station project.
Make one clarification, Mike.
Sure.
Just because people might be watching later, the 1.7 million for High Streets for the pump station, not for the DOT High Street.
Yeah, for the High Street pump station, which just came in. And so what we were looking at, because we knew we had more money than we needed. So we asked if we could use some of the DEP money to do the DOT, fund the DOT project. And the DEP said no. So then what we've come up with is taking money that was dedicated to Water Street in the bond, general obligation bond, shifting that money to the DOT project, taking more money out of the DEP funds to finish paying for the Water Street project. And then the city's already borrowed general obligation bond, probably at a better interest rate. So the only impact is it just takes money away from my project down the road.
Which project's that?
Dewatering project. We are taking in a lot of hauled waste, and it's a big revenue stream, and the pinch point for us is the centrifuge is too small now. And the state wants us to take more. We cannot take more if we don't upgrade the centrifuge. And we have money. We were already given 375,000 from the state. That's not included in this for the dewatering project. The dewatering project, he's got it listed at 3.1 million. I think that number's too high. But I think that's what he put in there for the application. But anyway, it's down the road. The other good news for me and for you is that the High Street pump station project came in way under. So the High Street pump station project was bid at 1.8 million, but estimated 1.8. That's why we got the 1.77 congressionally directed funding. And we opened the bids the other day, and the low bid's 1.5, a little over 1.5. It does present a unique challenge because in order to get to 1.77 congressionally directed, we need to spend a little over 400,000 of our money to leverage that money. So with the project coming under, makes it a little challenging. Doesn't help us that it came in. Usually it would be great, but now that it's 1.5, we gotta spend 400 something to get to 1.77. And honestly, I don't know what the rules are for the congressionally directed. If we don't need it all for High Street, if we can carry that over. So we gotta look at that. But Water Street came, when it finalized, came in under $83,000 under. And we didn't use any of the contingency money in that. So that's gonna roll over to the next project. So we just thought it would be the right, smart thing to do to use money we've already borrowed and shift other monies.
As long as it's allowable, I think that's fine. But if you do shift monies from one project to another, it still needs to go before a public hearing and come back to council, and you want to talk to the bond council and how to shift those monies to dedicate it to another project.
Yeah, that's the only piece. So I knew that the DEP money was not gonna be used. They checked anyway. But I'd already called. They said no. So that's when we started looking at the general obligation money to see if we could take some of the general obligation money. Because the general obligation money wasn't all originally intended for the Water Street project. There was a back truck in there, and we took it out because we needed more money for Water Street. And so I don't know enough about general obligation money. You do, how we use it, and how we have to allocate stuff for that. I just know he's pretty specific about how they want that money. That's why we.
So is the back truck, are you selling yourself short if you don't get the back truck or another project? And so,
Yeah, no,
which is, would be,
that's why it sucks for me.
oh, okay, now it's gonna be together.
Yeah, because we're gonna take 350, 240, whatever that money is gonna get, allocated in the projects. And which is fine. I mean, the city, I don't think the city wants to borrow money at 5 or 6%.
Right. No, I think that's a good idea. So this 340, does that include, that doesn't include any water stuff because.
No,
the other
that's
thing.
the other piece. But so originally we were gonna break out the water and put that in his budget. Because his water box for 40 is not, I mean, it's a big number, but it should be manageable. But then he also needs 3 12-inch insertion valves. And when we got quotes back on the insertion valves are somewhere on the order of 45,000. So if you add 40 plus the 45,000, now you're talking at 80,000 to the budget. That's gonna happen. If it was a bigger budget, it may not be as significant, but for his budget, it's gonna be a significant push. And so knowing, we're gonna do all the budget workshop is we're always gonna be concerned about the city's overall budget and how it affects the mill rate. So the question is that an acceptable increase in his budget? Or do we want to just roll it into this general obligation money and keep his operational budget?
Can't.
Because his operational budget is a proprietary fund, so it's really going to be on the backs of the users, which he just did, I think, last year, 40% user rate increase. So if he had to do another rate increase, he has to do another PUC rate case, and then you have to hit the rate payers with another increase if that, depending on the impact of that, around 100,000.
On the general obligation money that's on here, there's about 200-something thousand missing in the allocation that we took against that bond. So that bond allowed for 1.34 million to fund Water Street. So we still have a couple 100,000 after this allocation. So have you guys thought about that one?
Well, I rolled that 340 includes water.
Yeah, you can't mix the water and the wastewater because
That was the
water,
question I asked.
water borrowings have to go through the PUC.
Yeah, so that was my question, because this money, this general obligation money, and I don't understand bond money the way you do. But the city borrowed the money for their various projects. And so it wouldn't be a new bond because the money's already been borrowed, right?
It's an allocation.
Huh?
It's an allocation. So the allocation is specifically stated in the bond that 1.34 million went to Water Street pump station.
Yeah, but the bond also stated that a bunch of money is supposed to go to buy a back truck, which we never
No,
did.
we took that off actually in the end. This is a discussion I had with Jim Safford, is that what was in the bond paperwork is not consistent with the final spreadsheets that he and I did, and he's actually working to fix that now.
Okay,
Because
so,
1.34 was given for Water Street.
right. So I guess the question for you guys is, can you reallocate some of that money that you don't, because we can use other monies to finish Water Street? And reallocate that money,
Jim, you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
reallocate that, whatever money we need for the High Street DOT project out of the bond. And use more money out of the grant, because the 2.2 million straight grant is done that. And the 1.77 is dedicated specifically to High Street, which pretty much pays for all of High Street. And then any monies, thought process is well, whatever monies are left over from these projects will just get rolled up into a future water project.
So the contract that we need to sign for the DOT, I believe it's just to accept the project, that we will fund it somehow. I don't think we need to say how we're going
I
to.
don't think we do.
So I think, so these are some things to think about. I think Ann working with Jen and that, and then she can come back with a plan. I think next week. Yep, yeah. So. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I just have a little bit of a question and statement. One is, I understand trying to move some money around, and I understand trying to take advantage of grants, et cetera. But if it comes down to borrowed money, I'm hearing the term of, what did the bank say? 5%. Okay.
5.6.
All right, 6%.
Depending on, you know,
All right,
the
let's,
term.
6%, and you're talking on 300,000, right? But some of that's water, so maybe 280, maybe whatever, okay? Close to 300,000. What is the, if you end up borrowing bond bank or other sources, what's the differential? We're hearing 6% locally. What is the differential if you borrow from other sources?
Well, you can't borrow everything from the bond bank, you can borrow from the bank is unsecured debt.
Right,
Bond bank is not,
okay,
but bond bank rates are 3.5
okay.
right
So,
now.
so potentially you're dealing with a 2% differential on borrowed money. And I'd just like to throw this idea out. There's a lot of towns that would like to have a 2% differential problem on millions of dollars of payment. It's not a big problem.
Can I ask a question? Because I don't understand. But- So the bond money, the bond that we took out, isn't that already at whatever interest rate we borrowed it at?
Yeah, but the difference is when you borrow money, when you bond money like that, it's secured by, what the general obligation means is that it's secured by the taxing authority of the municipality.
Right.
You borrow money from a commercial bank, it's either secured by an underlying asset or it's unsecured.
No, I understand
That's why
that.
the
What I'm,
rates are so
what I'm
different.
asking is, when we took that bond out, doesn't it already have an interest rate assigned to it?
Yes,
So do you know what that interest rate is?
it was, what?
Pretty
I don't have it
low.
In front of me. Yeah, it's like 3 something,
Yeah, I thought it was really, really low.
but that's not the market anymore.
Yeah, no, that's why we thought it'd be better to use the bond money we have instead of borrowing new money. So I see what you're saying, 2%.
Well, 3%, let's say it's 3%. Differential on $300,000 over 10 years. Is that the life of the project?
It's whatever, no, it's whatever the bond, whatever.
Well, no, but
the
if you,
term. Our project, that project will be done in, that's not.
No, how long is it till we do it again?
Right, yeah.
my question is this, so you put it in, you do the project, is that a 10-year project before you need to maintain what's been done?
What's the life of that
5, yeah,
work?
So like the DOT
Whatever
standard.
DOT comes back.
Yeah, I mean, just to give some perspective, I started working here in 2005. We did High Street shortly after, because it was right when we bought the new camera,
Yep.
because we used the new camera, the first project that.
Are we still paying on the basic drinking water SRF loan? I think it was like a 20-year, 22
Something
or
like that.
something like that.
But, first project we used the camera for was to camera the sewer mains on High Street, because they bored through them and they tried to choose water sources. So that would have been in like 2007, 8, and then now they're coming back, so.
all right, so let's call it 12 years for safety.
Yeah,
20
You know,
I'd say 15 years or less.
all right,
That's what I'm gonna say, because it's such a high traffic road.
all right, so.
It takes a
12
beating.
years. You're talking about a 2 or 3% differential borrowed money. $300,000 over that period of time. If you run those amortizations, it isn't that we're not talking about some money, but we're getting a huge value on top of this project. And everyone in Ellsworth wants good roads. So I wouldn't want to get stumbled up over 2 or 3% of 300,000 in this.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Where I'm going.
that's exactly what the conversation's about. Do we just borrow it and be done with it, or do we work on moving funds around and reallocate some stuff? So that is the core of this question for you guys. It's what's most advantageous to the city, and is it possible, given the mix of water and sewer? And I know with the DEP money, you're not using it for the DOT. So the only way you're shifting the DEP money is in between the DEP projects and taking general obligation money out of a DEP project and replacing it with more DEP. So, and as far as regulations around the allocation of bonds, that's fair area.
It just sounds to me like we're stretching the relationship of gifts.
And bonds are also fall under national security laws. I mean, there's rules about how you use municipal bonds.
Yes.
So let me.
This is just
We had-
an
let's say we
idea
have
that we
a-
think is feasible, we think it could be beneficial to the city. And so the question is, for us to answer is, A, is it feasible? And B, is it the council's wish to go through with reallocating stuff, or is it not enough of a savings and money for us not to just borrow and be done?
I think we should try to relocate it. It's absolutely necessary, because we clearly have surplus funds. So there's no way. I mean, I disagree about borrowing if you can potentially not borrow. You can potentially fund it with money that you already are paying for.
Have you spoke to Safin at all, by the way?
Well, no, I haven't, not about this, because I'm just seeing this morning, but I'm happy to go talk to him about it. There's a certain percentage of changes that you can make to the underlying projects of a muni bond. I don't know what that number is now. I have not dealt with that stuff in a long time, but
Well, the only thing that worried me
I'd
is
say
it's
it's
never
not
listed
looser
as a
than
project
tighter.
for the borrowing. That's the thing that worried me. It was never listed as a project for new borrow for the general obligation bond. We listed out the projects that we borrowed for. It wasn't
what was it?
one of them. The High Street project.
No.
So that's what I was worried about.
Yeah. The only thing on the GF 23 general obligation was Water Street. And we started at $1 million and changed
Yeah.
it to 1.3.
Yeah, because it came in over. So it's 2.5. You can see on the sheet what it ended up being. Even though it came in under, so it's not quite 2.5. But when we originally put the project out, we thought it was gonna come in around 2.1, something like that, and it's 400,000.
When did that Water Street project? I mean,
I
like,
don't
when
know,
did we borrow the
But
funds
we
for that?
just finished it.
Yeah, but I feel like it's been,
23.
was it 23?
Yeah, that 23 general
How
obligation
was that?
bond included funding for Water Street. And then we got the NDRC 500,000, which is why we ended up doing the bond.
475 is what we got from NBRC.
Right, but originally it was a 500,000. I don't know why we got 475.
On the
Maybe
paperwork, it was
they got a piece of it or
475.
whatever.
We
But
received 475.
the original calculation was gonna be, $500,000 from NBRC. And then we had a match, and then the original estimate was over, so we borrowed money to what we thought it was gonna be. And then it came over that. But then we got the 2 million from the DEP. And I spoke with Brandy, right, she called me to tell me we were getting the money. And she said, the money's for Water Street and High Street. And then anything that's left over, we can put towards the water. And
Okay,
so
so that's good.
that was in the designation for the 2.2 million. And 200,000 of that 2.2 was specifically for stormwater, which was what we used. And then we got the congressional direct funding for High Street. So that gave us even more money to leverage. So the question comes down to, how can you manipulate the bond? And if you can, then is it the council's desire to do that? Or is it the council's desire to just keep everything the way it is as far as that bond and the funding and the projects go? And just do a separate borrowing that the water and wastewater department will take on debt service for our piece of it, and water will take on debt service for their piece of it to pay off that.
I wonder what the rules are of like the city, like the money to the water departments through all that piece and stuff. It's like a pretty expense.
We basically already have. Paid all the water street city money. Reimbursed, right?
Yeah, but the water, are you talking about Water Street or the water company?
Water company.
The water company's different because they're in PVC regulations, so we're not. You can do whatever you want with us. But
Well,
water,
I don't want to say that.
but water has a lot of regs when it comes to money and how you get it and how you spend it.
Sounds like just need a bit more information
Yeah.
for you. So,
Yeah.
and can talk to the bank about the 1.8 million and see if there's an option to shift any of that.
Yeah.
I can talk to Reggie about PUC stuff and see if there has been past where the we kind of like the
It's been a long time.
money or not.
My brain is in this
Then
shark seas. So yeah, we will definitely need to have like a special thing, early next week. So I think we said the 13th.
The 13th, I think, is
it's still,
contract.
so they're Monday or Tuesday.
Is there any-
There is a meeting
You got Tuesday then? Sorry, another
Yeah.
meeting.
Or, and you guys add something to the agenda with Leanne, so.
Yep,
Um,
I think so. But maybe better just to.
Typically, the things that we want. We should just have Tuesday.
Probably got to reach out to Marco Gross because the original utility agreement lists out 68 manholes. And whatever the water boxes were, and those numbers changed. And so he said he was going to reflect that in the last agreement that we were going to sign. You just want to verify that he made that change.
And the water stuff, is that all? I guess I could talk to Reggie. Yeah. So, my apologies, I do have to go. Does anyone want to take some notes on this? Or you can just take notes. I'm so sorry, I do have to go. Oh, the last thing, budget books.
Hopefully next week.
Okay.
I'm getting waylaid frequently by this Casella immigration.
Okay.
But my deputy starts next week, so I'll have more hands on that.
Okay.
Great. Do hands update.
Did you need?
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mike.
Just
Hey,
my-
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Sorry to check like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to see a
I
video?
gotta borrow, I gotta.
It makes money sense,
Right.
it's just whether or not if you can legally make it happen.
Okay.
My, find me before the end of the day and I'll talk.
I'm off today. So what do you need?
Nothing, I'll talk to Stockton after this meeting, and then I'll-
Okay.
I'll call you.
You can call me, because I'm just going, I gotta run down to Lincolnville, and then I'm coming back, so. Just call me, I'm at 5 minutes away. See you guys.
See you, Mike.
See you now.
So, as you can see, my, doesn't look much different than last year, or last week. The Casella integration is just kind of a massive part. It's got a lot of tentacles and problems, and so that has taken a lot of our time. This is one of the things I'm hoping to kind of download to my newest deputy. I'm still working on the budget translation, but I just have a lot going on between regular operations and also the audit for 2023 has started. So I had to kind of stop everything and push a lot of data to them. 2023 is being reconciled, most of it by the auditors, because when my accountant was here, she was fixing 22 and fixing a lot of the original entries into 23. There was no accounting done in 23. It was just, I'm not sure what happened. Yeah. So that was super fun. And so we're working on that. I'm trying to save money by doing as much of it in-house as I can before I push things over. And I made a deal with the auditor that we would be reasonable and, you know, he's helped tremendously with so many things because we didn't have those numbers to work with, and hopefully I'll have some pretty good numbers for budget, but unfortunately, the data in Munis in the old system is just not very reliable. So, but we're trying to do some workarounds with that so that budget makes sense to everybody. We're having a lot of discussions and Cassell is coming back regarding some of the process issues. Not entirely sure who vetted this software. Nobody seems to know, but there's a lot of functionality that the city wanted that we just don't have in this software. For my time, so I'm not really sure what happened. It's sort of anecdotal at this point, what happened.
I can speak to that a little bit. The previous finance director, Josh, had worked extensively and felt that it was such a big improvement over Munis. I think perhaps looking back, I'm not speaking for anybody, but looking back, it appears to me that there was so many good things that he didn't have immediately that once you get to the point and start using the good things, you start seeing some of the weaknesses. That would be just a guess on my part.
I mean, as a general ledger software, it's great, but the problem is the approvals process, it doesn't exist in that software. And that's making it challenging because first of all, it puts a lot more work on me. I have to go through every single thing and make sure that I'm getting a department head approval. It's not, we can't just push it to them, but I'm pretty confident that they're going to figure out a way. I mean, they're literally rewriting software right now and adding functionality to it, but it's slow to process. I have to keep the morale of my clerks because they're not in good spirits about it, and it's a big struggle, and that's normal, I think, in any transition, but it still requires me to stay with them and stick by them and, you know, things like that. And what I'm having a struggle with budget is that the translations that came over from Munis don't match up to the real. So Munis was bringing over a number from the, you know, a previous period last year, the year before that, that when you went back into the software, I mean, I literally just double checked some figures and it was completely different than what the migration brought over. So we don't have, it's my understanding, we don't really have any more tech support for Munis because we're abandoning it. So there's some challenges to getting budget done in the way that it's been done in the past, in the way that the format that they like to have. So it'll still make sense to you, but it will be different just because we don't have the same software cranking out those numbers. And I kind of questioned the old ones because when I went back and did just sort of a random check, I couldn't figure out where the numbers came from that were in the previous years. So
I could say this, that even when the conversations that I sat in on 2 years ago on the finance committee was Munis wasn't supporting Munis when Munis was being paid.
Right.
So I don't think Munis not being able to help now is any different than when we were paying them. From what I heard, I don't
Right.
know that.
But the problems that are coming out of it still exist and still.
I'm certain.
That's the
I'm
problem. And until we have more bodies in finance, it's just, things are slow. That's why the budget books, my plan was to have them done last week. I have them all stacked up in my office. I just don't have the spreadsheets done because I don't have the data that I need. And the data that I do have is questionable, so I'm having to go back and manually check each and every one. Just, it's tedious. It's a lot. And remember that we also simplified the chart of accounts, so a lot of accounts now come together under one new account. So that necessitates going back and looking at the multiple accounts. I had hoped that it would just be a straight up migration I'd be able to look at. We'd have, these 5 accounts and this much money, and this is all funneling into this new account. And it looks like that, but when we went back and checked old numbers, there was some question as to where those numbers came from. They didn't match the data that's actually in Munis, which is weird. I have no explanation for that. I'm not a software person or.
My small 2-year experience of the budget is when the books come out every week, there's more handouts, rip this out, take this out. So anything of that you could prevent, I think is
Yeah.
a better product, because every week they're in the budget. Well, rip that out. That's not good. We've updated this. And again, I've only sat through 2. Mr. Williams has sat through many.
Yes, but too long ago.
Okay.
No, I do have,
So
I will do the process differently. I don't like that because I have 4 different budget books for fiscal year 24, none of them match. And that makes it hard to
Which is-
do the budget.
which is what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, is rip this
I
to
can't
this.
find a budget in all of the archived budget data that I have in the finance department that matches the assessor's number. So I wasn't involved in that budget, so I don't really know. And probably the only person I could have asked didn't know. So I'm kind of reinventing it as I go, so we will just have to trust me. I
It's all new to
guess.
me. This is my first time through.
Yeah, I mean, to me, budgeting is pretty simple and straightforward, and it should be. It's a tool for management to track their own spending and their workflow. And I would like for this budget to be that kind of a document.
Simple-minded, so I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, finance works when you're simple-minded about it. When you get complicated, that things go
Yeah,
missing.
you can keep it uncomplicated,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Well, thanks for all the hard work you're doing, and I know it's been a lot, with the transition and everything, so.
It's fun. It's kind of a challenge now. It's like,
Good, if you're having fun, then that's great.
I'll be happy when I have an accountant
I'm sure that will be-
or someone to do the accounting.
Could we touch a little bit on the,
I've got.
Check fraud.
Yeah.
Yep. can I hear a little bit more about the
Yeah,
check fraud
so-
business?
Thank you, Ann.
Sure. We've implemented Positive Pay, like I told you last week, which is a program that pretty much sounds like every bank provides. Where the only time, luckily, the only time the city writes a check is during the warrant. Is for the warrant. So, for example, once after this meeting and you sign this warrant, I will take that check register and upload it into our bank account. And so every check and every ACH payment that comes in will be vetted against that list, and anything that's wonky will go into a queue. The alarm that just went off was my alarm for me to go look in the queue in the Positive Pay online banking to look at individual things that have been flagged by the bank, things that didn't match the warrant that was, or the check register that was uploaded, because the warrant really is a check register.
Positive pay is a increased security, but not a iron wall.
No.
Correct.
Correct. But from the standpoint of not only just general liability and things like that, I feel like there's a lot of people looking out for the city of Ellsworth in this situation at our bank. We're a big client, huge client for them, and they really take care of us. And I have somebody always that at my disposal that I can call from anywhere and be like, I need this, and it's done. And anything that's questionable, they'll call me. I mean, I've had people call me I had a vendor call and say that somebody, I think I told you this, ran a check through the bank through their account that they didn't think was the right check. So that's a very fortunate thing to have happen. It would have been caught in the regular process because it didn't match anything. But I think as many people as could be looking out for us are looking out.
Yeah, and the problem with that, and it's nothing against the banks are wonderful and doing everything they can. It's amazing that they catch what they catch, but while they're building walls against fraud, the fraudsters are already building the fraud. So
Yeah.
it's a moving world the whole time. It's never gonna all stop.
No, and it's worldwide. I mean, it's not unique to the city of Ellsworth.
Yeah, but it's amazing what they do get.
And we will catch it in reconciliations too. I mean,
That's too late.
not from a legal, being reimbursed standpoint. By the bank, because we have this agreement in place with them. Anything past 30 days, it's, or a couple months can be very dicey. They're not gonna catch the fraudsters. That's not the goal. They know they can't catch them. This is a very sophisticated fraudulent scheme, probably perpetrated by bank employees who understand these things.
You're still getting, how many would I call it hits? How many hits a month are you getting that aren't lining up?
I've been averaging about 2 or 3 a week.
That's being caught.
Well, I go through everything that hits the bank. So
Right.
everything that hits the bank goes into a queue and I go through them and I match them up either to my warrant. Yeah, it's another thing that's slowing me down.
Wow, yeah, 2 or 3 a week. Oh,
That- And you know, some of them are just ridiculous. I mean, they're made out to crazy names and they're signed by other crazy names. And they've literally just taken like not even a good copy of the check. And then some of them are really good. But frequently it's pretty obvious right away. Either they don't have a check number, in a lot of, we had, since we just came out of Munis, we had a lot of overlap in the checking from Munis, and all of the Munis checks have vendor numbers on them. So as soon as you don't see a vendor number, you know it's a fake check. You know, that was one easy way to tell. But now with the new checks and the new system, what we're seeing is bizarre payees and signatures by not me, by random people. So they're just, you know, it's a numbers game, literally, in that they see how many they can get through. And when they stop getting through, they move on to something else. And then they come back maybe a couple months later and try again. And I
The
mean,
banks,
that's the racket.
sorry, has the banks mentioned like any other clients going through the same thing?
Happens all the time, so. That's why they have programs like Positive. Yeah. The digital world. Just look at it like robbing a stagecoach or a train. It's always been around. Level of sophistication.
Mr. Williams, anything to offer us?
All right, I guess I can just give a quick update. I've seen the notes that were at the beginning. Just to look at upcoming, you know, I'm just gonna continue all the processes that were in place, doing a weekly public works meeting. You know, be working with Ann next week, early in the week to go over budget that she has done so far and see how, and make sure the books are coming along well, and then we can start meeting with department heads as she's able to put different things together, just to go review their budgets. And then a management team meeting next week, before the council meeting. And that's mostly it. One more thing is that deputy clerk is interested in looking at hosting a crafts and arts fair, I guess in May at some point, as a fundraiser to help our general assistance department raise funds for the backpack program that she has, to help school kids get school supplies. So be advertised soon for vendors to sign up to sell arts and crafts. And they'll be at the Moore Center. We're talking with the Y about hosting it there. They seem on board with it. So something for the spring coming up. That's all I have.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, man.